wir freuen uns, dass ihr heute da seid. Wir haben die Ehre und das Glück, Alex Bieder heute dabei zu haben. Er hat sich ausgedacht, einen ganz lebendigen Vortrag zu halten. Also Sie werden quasi eingeladen mitzumachen. Ja, also man kann das alles mit dem Handy auch machen, oder?
Papier.
Auf Papier? Also wir werden mit Papier arbeiten. Es erwarten Sie ein paar interessante und lustige Überraschungen. Er hat sich wirklich viele Gedanken gemacht und freut sich sehr, heute dabei zu sein. Danke, Alex.
Also diese Veranstaltung findet im Rahmen von Digital Uplift statt. Die Bildungsinitiative ist völlig kostenfrei und läuft ein ganzes Jahr, also ich glaube bis Juli 2024. Und wir haben jeden Monat, zweimal im Monat, haben wir kostenfreie Vorträge, wo Experten aus verschiedenen Bereichen zu uns kommen und uns aus ihrem Wissenspool Wissen weitergeben. Diese Flyer liegen überall auf. Bitte zögern Sie nicht, sich anzumelden, weil per Newsletter werden die ganzen Informationen verteilt. Manchmal gibt es Verschiebungen und Sie erfahren dann rechtzeitig über den nächsten Vortrag. Wir bedanken uns vielmals beim Alex, dass er heute da ist. Und noch eine Anmerkung, wir haben momentan laufend eine Ausstellung Path Reflections im Kulturankerzentrum Schlingerhof. Sie findet Montag und Dienstag, Donnerstag und Freitag statt.
Also nicht statt, man kann sie besuchen. Also die offene Seite.
Die offene Seite. Gestern war die Vernissage.
Genau, gestern war die Vernissage.
Und genau, wir haben 14 bis 18 Uhr geöffnet, außer am Freitag, da ist 10 bis 14 Uhr. Also herzliche Einladung vorbeizuschauen im 21. Bezirk. Vielen Dank. Wir übergeben das Wort an Alex. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Danke, Alex.
So, we begin. Hello, welcome everyone. I'm gonna make the presentation in English. I hope it's okay for the ones present here. It's gonna be basic wording and general introduction of animation. So, today I'm gonna talk about introduction about animation. You don't have to have any knowledge in animation or any background, so basically it's from zero. So, first of all, I want to know about you. So, I would like to know, first of all, what are your interests and what are you here? Like, what is your background into animation, or if you're interested, or in general things? I would like to know, why are you here? So for that, I will share to everyone a post-it where I would like to have a little comment. You know, I like just to watch films. I just would like to make some animation of a hobby, or I would like to just make something that can have movement, right? So for that, I will ask Sonia to share it to everyone. I have some. Sonia. To me, right? Super. So, yeah, overall it seems like everyone is into like an introduction phase, or that have somehow an interest to beginning to animation, or have some movement in the stuff that you build, or just basically as a hobby. Or you like films and you would like to understand how or why does it work, what you're looking at. So first of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Alex Villar. So I am a artist from Mexico. I have 31 years old, and I am basically like an interdisciplinary artist, which means that I like to do a lot of things. So I'm really curious into animation, into photography and music and all sort of things, but animation has been the thing that I have been working the most time of my life. I've worked into productions for cinema. I've done commercial work, and I do as kind of like a hobby animations for presenting into art exhibitions as well. I would like to present as well for you like a demo reel that I had from a few years before, so you can have a general look of what I've done before. So that was my reel from before. Currently, this is the stuff that I'm working, so it's more oriented into 3D animation and graphics that are more experimental in the context and material. So this is a part of animation that I'm gonna explain as well. There's another talks about 3D animation later, but today we're just gonna focus mostly into the introduction of animation. Then later you can build things like this, of course. So overall, I would like to mention to you and tell you what are we going to discuss today. More or less, I have planned to talk around 1.5 hours to 2 hours. So let's see how everything flows, that we can make it easygoing and that it's understandable for everyone. We're going to talk about animation, what it is animation. We're going to talk as well about the 12 principles of animation, which is like the core of how animation works and why animation is looking good currently. There's also about an explanation about the 5 points, which are like the most important for me or the ones that I've used the most in my work and over these years. I'm going to make an activity and I'm going to explain the cell animation, motion graphics, stop motion, coda animation, 3D animation. I'm going to make a second activity that you can just get to try about what you already get to know before. And I'm going to give you some recommendations. I have as well some books that you can have a look later. And later we can have a Q&A. So if you have some questions, if you need some links for videos, courses, blah, 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 I'm kind of like an addict into this kind of field to get to know where you can get more information, because I know that this is going to be like a quick presentation about what is animation. So this is going to be the first weekend. We're going to have a second weekend, but it's going to be built based into your feedback, that you can let me know what is more your interest based into what you saw today. So yeah, this is what we're going to talk. So anima what? Animation is, I don't know if someone knows have worked with animation or knows more to see that, meaning like someone can explain me what animation means. So what do you think that it's animation?
It's a good explanation.
Mm-hmm. But can you maybe explain if you have another words or no? Okay, in the back you.
Moving illustrations.
Yeah. Someone else, another?
What you say is bringing static images to life.
Basically is that animation is just something that it's inanimate, you can bring it to life. Could be a stone, could be a flower, could be many things that might not have moving naturally, but you can bring it to life through animation. Yeah?
It's also like in the word, it says giving it a soul, not just like the movement.
Exactly.
So I think you bring to something like a stone, you bring a soul.
Basically, yes.
It has got some character.
Exactly. So animation is to bring life or even a character, as you say. There's this film of Everything Everywhere All at Once where there's a scene where there's just stones. So they have life in a way. So that's what animation is about. So overall, I'm going to just talk not boring stuff about in history, blah, blah, blah. Animation comes from years and years ago. So it was created when, or many people say that animation comes from when there was these paintings in the Paleolithic times where there was these warriors where they were kind of attacking these big bulls or these huge animals of catching creatures. So basically that's when it's mentioned that animation was created. Not basically to say like moving images, but it was like an image that represented some movement and represented in a sequence. So that's the history where animation is considered coming from. And also was the gramophone, that I think it's called, that it was, it's the phenokistop, which is like these images that you were able to see in this little circle that was running really fast, and then you can see movement of the horse or like people having some movements and things like this. So that is the process of when it grows. This is what it is like the cell animation. I will explain in detail what cell animation is. But animation like this, it is drawn, it is made by hand, and it's made frame by frame. So every frame that you can see here, it's made by hand. And the thing is that animation is built in general like 24 frames per second. So every second there's 24 frames. So that means that you have to build for each second 24 frames. So 24 pictures that you can have a really good sense of movement and that it looks like this. So in general, this is more or less like the background that we have. Also, the concept of animation was more developed by Disney. In this time, it was developed like this traditional Mickey Mouse with black and white, like in this kind of boat. This was kind of like the first animation that was developed originally in this kind of cell animation. So from then on, it was animation started to grow considerably. And then on, they started to build more techniques and things like that. And we go to the process. Let me see if I can get it to that time. Yeah. No, it didn't work. No, I cannot move it like easily. So I can move a little bit longer. No, didn't work. Anyway, so the idea is that that animation came to life like this. So people started to experiment with drawings and then to give movement to stuff. Of course, now on you can see stuff in 3D, stuff like the things that I showed you, or like if you think on Toy Story, which was the first 3D animation, also this came from this development of the animation as a concept. So yeah, this is before. Wait a second. So as I mentioned before, I'm going to talk about the 12 principles of animation. These 12 principles are, well, there. What it is, why they exist, and who created this. So the 12 principles are, it's like the spine of animation. If you think on painting, there's techniques. On photography, there's also core things that you need to consider, like the way that you're going to frame it, to consider the horizon, to consider the rule of thirds, things like that. But also there's stuff related for animation that are like core things that your animation works. In this case, I'm going to mention about animation as a non-experimental side. So this is more like the commercial side, or animation that can be more, how to say it, like accessible, that the persons now are used to see, like stuff that you watch on Instagram, stuff that you watch on YouTube, or even in the cinemas. So the principles are that, and why are they made for? Because without them, the animations doesn't look that they have realism in a way. So basically what we want is that animated stuff can feel real. So when you watch an animated film, you will later forget that you're watching an animation. You're watching a story. So the idea here is that you let yourself go with the storytelling. So always is the most important thing here, the storytelling, and that's why the principles are made for, to help us to help the people to forget that you're watching an animation and you're watching a story. And who created this? The name of the people that it's called is Ole Johnson and Frank Thomas. Actually, it was developed into this, it was made into this book. This was the Illusion of Life. It was in 1981 when it was released, this book. And there they developed like the whole idea of why, or which the principles that I'm going to explain and why they work. And this is more like for Disney animation. I'm going to have the book here. Later, if you want to have a look of it, you can feel free to take a look on that. So I'm going to talk to you about the 12 principles now. The squash and stretch, the anticipation, follow through and overlap, the arcs, slow in and slow out, timing, secondary action, exaggeration, staging, straight ahead and pose to pose, solid drawings and appeal. I know that it's a lot of things that you need to have in mind, but I would just explain my top 5 that it's easy to remember and that you can understand how the animation is basically needed. Not all of them you need to use, and actually the idea is in animation you don't need to think of them all the time. So sometimes if you need to animate like a sphere or something like this, you maybe just need like the squash and stretch, or maybe you just need like the anticipation for specific movements. I will explain you what are they, but that you don't have to worry that you always have to think on something like this when you are creating an animation. And overall, these concepts are not applied for just specifically frame by frame. This also applies for motion graphics, applies for the stuff that you see on Instagram or 3D animation. So these concepts are like the core of making stuff to move. So this is what it is. So I'm gonna start with the squash and stretch. So basically it's like expanding and compressing to give the illusion of weight on things. What it is? So this is the squash and stretch. If you see here, there's different frames. In total we have 7 frames, so that's why there are different spheres illustrated in the drawing, that you can have a sense of to know what it is about. Each frame, it is per second, so that means that every second there's like an image going on, so that the sphere starts there and then it moves until here, that it feels this kind of feeling of squashing and stretching. If you see this animation, you can see like as if the sphere has kind of like a realistic movement. You can see that the weight of the sphere is light, of course. So what it helps this squash and stretch technique, it is for giving an illusion of weight to your elements. This technique is applied to everything. So if you move a hand, also you can see how heavy the hand is, how heavy the stone is. Yeah, all sort of things. This is basically like the idea. I don't know if it's clear or we should continue, or if you have any question that I can go through it.
With the hand.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do it?
For example, now my hand, you see like normal. If I would be a cartoon, my hand will go like this and then like move like that. So this gives you like, for example, for cartoony things, there's no sense of realism. So it's more like this sense of like when they move really exaggerated movements and things like that. So that's when you will apply this squash and stretch, for example. Or when you have like a raindrop that you want to have animated, you apply this technique that the raindrop doesn't look like there's the shape of the raindrop falling like this. Otherwise, it will look super stiff. So there's like heavy water, and then it looks boring. So like this, you can have a feeling that it's liquidy, and I don't know. This is the idea. I don't know if anyone have another comment that we can go through it. Oh, good. Super. So the next one I will explain is called anticipation, which is kind of clear. Is like the small action to indicate that a major action is about to come. So with animation, what we want to do is to represent the sense of life, but also we want to exaggerate it. It's not one-to-one animation to what real life is. Not always. You could fix it depending your needs, but normally the anticipation helps a lot. So what it does is that when the sphere is into a specific position, when it has to go to this place, you anticipate the movement to the end, that to go to the opposite direction. So if I want to run to this place, to that place, the first thing that I will do is to animate a character or something that you are animating to go like this and back, that you have the sense of having like a speed or weight, and then you animate the character or person or whatever you're doing to move it to the other place. That is the principle of anticipation. So you have like a better feeling of where does it go. About this, I don't know if you have any question or if you would like to mention maybe any example that you can think of what you can anticipate. Really?
If you want to hit something.
When you want to hit something, for example, if you have the hammer, let's say like this, you see the hammer. So when you want to, instead of just having like this, you will see the movement like that, going behind, like the way that is explained. You do it in reverse, and then you hit the thing that you want to represent.
Or a car, for example, in animations, first they get small and before it starts, and then it's...
Exactly. In that case, for example, the cars, when they do this kind of thing, they apply the squash and stretch plus the anticipation, because if it's cartoony, the car will squish a little bit to the back, and then it will get into the normal shape, and then to go front. That is like a mix of two principles, if you think about that. So then that's why I mentioned that sometimes you apply several principles when you animate, but then you have to more or less understand what you want to do and how you want it to feel. Because if the car does this squishing feeling, then it's like a cartoon. But if it's a real car, then maybe you can lift the car a little bit, so that it will give anticipation that the car is gonna give the full gas, as you say, and then you give the car running, right?
Is anticipation only meant for like movement-wise, or also content-wise? Like if somebody's about to say something or do something, like the character may look at you and then say something to the other person.
You could do it, yes. For example, if there's like a conversation with something like this, the character, before doing the reaction, like if you say like, today's gonna rain so hard, and then the character do not like that, then it's gonna make an anticipated shape that is not like this, and then it's gonna make the crying expression.
So this means also with regard to content.
Everything, exactly. So basically, every time, I mean, it's like a principle that you could apply it if you want, because like this, you give character to your characters as well, or to your creations. As you see here, there's only like a sphere. So you could give it to a sphere, you can give it to a stone, to everything applied to moving elements. This is something that you can consider. I don't know if there's something else, or we can go with the next one. Okay, so the next one is called follow through and overlapping. So in this case, it's adding movement after an action to create the sense of realism. So what it is, this technique, it's more oriented into physics. This is a little bit more tricky, but this one kind of mix the rules or the principles that I talked before. So this concept is more to have a real motion, like this inertia that you need to think about. So the overlapping feeling is when this thing bounces like this, it's this principle to give this sense of realistic elements. Like, I don't know, what can we think of this, like a tofu that you let yourself like this, and then the tofu does this kind of wobbly movement. So
sometimes if somebody's sliding pudding above.
Yeah, exactly, like a pudding where you put it through like in a table, and then it will give you this effect. But if you think about it, it's more to give realism and like a physics kind of feeling to the elements. So at the moment, I'm not explaining how it works frame by frame, but that you can understand the idea of it. So this is the follow through and overlapping principle. I don't know if you have any question, or would you like to mention an example as well?
I think it's clear, yeah.
Yeah, or maybe.
I'm just thinking again of a car. If the car stops, all of a sudden it's not like stopping, but
Exactly.
go in it and go back.
Yeah. Basically, when you are driving, even you have this sense of feeling. When you go to the bus, you have this kind of feeling, or it's basically to apply the rules of physics, but to your animation, that it doesn't look stiff. As you said, like it's not like a full stop, but we have some inertia or physics applied into your movement. So let's go maybe to the next one. The next one is slow in and slow out. So this is more into motion graphics. It's called the ease in and ease out. So for an action to create the realistic sense of acceleration and deceleration, which might be applied as well to the concept of the car, or even to the pudding that you throw like this. So what this does is that let's say we have here an animation of 1 second. No, so the sphere starts from there and it starts here. But in this animation, let's say it goes fast and then slows like this. So there's like a movement that it gives sort of certain realism to the movement of the object. So let's say if we have the pudding, it starts slow and then you got to make it fast, and then it slows down. It's the same like with a car, like it starts slow, then you make it fast, and then so on. So that is like a feeling of, when you have this sense of movement, like the acceleration is more or less when you apply this principle, when you're moving stuff that want to have acceleration, or how to say it, when you want to put a thing from one place to another. Can be rotation as well. A rotation could be can start like this and then can do this kind of movement. Instead of being like this, you're just doing like this. So that it gives some sort of like a little bit more dynamic feeling. Because for example, when I've done animations without applying this thing, it feels like a PowerPoint thing. Like animation where it is like, and then it moves like this. So with this, it gives more like this kind of realistic movement, or I don't know, I normally consider it like as a flag, that it gives more kind of like a flow to your animations. I don't know, any example if you want to mention, or if you want to ask about this principle? No? Good? Super. So for the next one, it's staging. So here is what staging helps is for directing the attention to what you want to have. Let's say in this screen, what we want to have is attention is to the letters, right? So for that, you need to make an animation that helps to highlight the point where you want that the people look at. Normally with painting or photography, you use the rules of thirds, which helps to give the side of the people to know where they have to look, or the colors or things like this that helps the people. But in animation, what it helps is the staging. So in this case, for example, it's super obvious, right? We give light to what we need to highlight. So it's really easy. For example, if we have this square, but we don't have that light, I don't know, can someone give me an example of how can we highlight this box without this light?
Maybe some person looking at the box?
But how can you present the person? Like for example, without having a person, how can you highlight this box?
You can just scale it.
That's one way, like to stage it is like to scale it maybe up and down. That's one way that you can give stage to an element. So for example, if you have 20 squares like this, you can just give the side of the people, when you scale down and up, one of the boxes that you want to represent. This is one good example. There's different ways. Maybe someone can think on something else?
Movement, probably. And the others, they just...
Exactly, yeah. I mean, if you have maybe like a pattern of things, then you can just have like more exaggerated movement to give staging to your screen or content. I don't know if someone else has another.
Some flash colors.
Sorry?
Flash colors. So like
you could have flash colors, I mean, or also you could have, let's say, like little stars or something like this. This could be an example of how can you give stage to the element that you want to have. I don't know.
The position in the picture, where it stands above the others, probably.
That can be one way, just if we think about it like this in, let's say, photography or painting, when you give contrast to your elements in animation, sometimes might be a little bit tricky. It works like this, but in animation, sometimes you have to exaggerate half step a little bit more, like the way that you mentioned. So we put like a little sprinkles or like a little stars that can show up, and that's the way that you can give a little bit more of like to highlight that specific element. When you don't want to have it super cartoony, then you work with colors, you work with light. So you have to figure it out in different situations. Of course, it's depending. If you're doing like a super cartoony, like Looney Tunes kind of animation, or Simpsons, or kind of things like this, or if you're having a bit more realistic stuff like in 3D, that makes more sense that to have a little bit more subtle elements, but that still you can give staging to your element, right? So, any question or comment about this one? No? Cool. So, basically those were the 5 principles that I just wanted to talk to you about. Those are the main ones that I normally use in my work. These are the whole 12 principles of animation. So we have what we discussed, the squash and stretch. We have the anticipation. We have the follow through and overlap. We have arcs as well. So when you have elements moving or jumping or things like that, you create arcs to have a little bit more sense of the space and so. We have the slow in and slow out is what I explained. The timing is kind of similar like the slow in and slow out. It is represented there like in a fast way with the frames. So as I explained the frames in the beginning, it is the drawings per second. In this case, is only applied into this traditional animation, but if you think about it, when you work on 3D or when you work on cutout animation or stop motion, all is the same. Every frame or every picture that you take is the same. So here the timing, when you want to have this kind of flowy feeling, then you have to position the elements different, like in this timing, that it feels more natural, the movement. A secondary action is just to give a little bit more playful feeling. The exaggeration is pretty much similar like the staging, but it helps to both of them to do like this. And the straight ahead pose to pose, it is combining a little bit like the sense of the timing, but it's more like to how are you going to blend an image to different places. Here, the solid drawings also tells you to work a little bit more with perspective on elements, that you can have a bit more depth, even though that you're working with 2D animation. It gives you more like more depth. And the appeal, which helps you to, is more like a combination of many of them. I'm not gonna talk deeper about it because then it's gonna be way too much. And for that, I know that it's a bit too heavy and too much information. So for that, I would like to just make an activity. As you know, I'm a Mexican person, so I like tacos, right? So I brought my own taco. So I'm gonna make an activity in which I would like I'm gonna show you an animation, and based into that animation, I want you to tell me which principle are we looking at. And the person that knows which principle are we looking at will raise the hand, will get the taco, and can talk and mention about it, right? So it's just more to relaxing and having a little bit ease. So is everyone ready to begin? Okay, so which principle are we looking here? Careful. She has a taco. Anticipation, okay. Can you give me taco back? Let's check. And yes, it's anticipation. Can you maybe explain why you figured out that was anticipation?
It's just before it moves, it is moving a little bit, and that's why you can already anticipate.
Like the movement overall, yeah. So as you can see here, well, let's wait. Yeah, it does like this back, and then it goes. It is even more exaggerated by this kind of lines. As I tell you here, there's many principles apply in this animation, which is like the anticipation, the ease in and ease out, or slow in and slow down, and exaggeration, which is like to give this kind of explosion to represent what it is. But the main thing, of course, is anticipation. So, are you ready for the next one? Yeah? Okay, I hope someone else can catch a taco. So, let's see this one. Okay. Okay, for that, remember, well, let's request a taco, but okay. Let's see. Yep, it's staging. Super. For the next one. I hope you took notes.
Can you blend in the 12?
I could do that, yeah, but would you like to try without it?
It's the movement of the slap. You first look back before you go before you move forward.
That is the one that we already discussed, that it's called anticipation. But we already discussed about anticipation. I don't know if someone would like to try. I could go back if you want to the ones before that you would like to see. Would you like to? Okay, why not?
Yeah, okay. Probably also follow through and thingy.
Follow through and overlapping? Yeah, okay. Would you like to give it back? So let's have a look. There it is. Congrats. So, can you tell us why you think it's a follow through and the overlapping?
Yeah, because it doesn't stop where it stops. It's just still wobbling.
Yeah.
And then also when it's beginning, it's probably also a bit of staging with those little lines.
Yeah.
But it's like going back, like the anticipation, and then moving in slowly. And
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So basically this is more like a combination of different principles in animation, but yeah, this is more, if you see this just basic square moving, it looks more alive than just something that moves like this, right? Could be also okay that it moves like, but then you understand that it's heavy. Or
it's like if you have a cupboard and somebody is like trying to move the
exactly.
cupboard,
Really heavy, exactly.
It doesn't wobble.
Exactly. So this will depend on what are you applying this rule, right? So should we go with the next one? Okay. So you have to raise your hand and ask for the taco and...
I think I know.
You want to try?
Yes. Exaggerating.
Okay. Why is exaggerating?
Because it's jumping very high, and it's getting bigger and then smaller again.
Okay.
And yes, I think this, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I mean, what you're saying is totally right. But exaggerating, it was not something that I mentioned in the top 5 that I said. I forgot to say that it was from the top 5 that I just discussed. But congrats, Sonia, you were right in the exaggeration, and yeah, I mean, it's exaggerated, obviously.
Easy in
Can you explain why?
Because it goes like very slow and then faster.
Okay.
And this to the top.
Yeah. I mean, what you say is right.
But it's the wrong answer.
But it's the wrong answer. Would you like to try?
Sorry. Maybe it's all the words in so it's like
You can explain it with your words, and I can just say it.
And the squish and
The squash and stretch.
squash and stretch.
Okay. Would you like to? So, yes, it is the squash and stretch. Congrats. So, yeah, that's the squash and stretch. As many of you said, different principles do apply with this animation because it's more like a complex thing. But the main one, if you can see, is that squashing and stretching, because this principle is applied when you want to give something this illusion that there's not stiffness. So this gives more, as it is, squashy feeling, right? So let's go maybe with another one. Why not?
I arrived late, so I'm risking. I think it's the timing.
Timing, it's a good one. Can you explain why there's a timing?
Because it goes from, for example, in this case, left to right. But it doesn't move once it's right. And yeah, I'm really bad at explaining.
Okay.
Because there was this other one that when it moves it has this also this movement, but in this case it doesn't have like a shaking or something when it arrives.
Timing could be.
From one side to the other.
Yeah, sure.
And there's like I don't want to say a timing, but
there's a certain rhythm.
Yeah, like a rhythm. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, it could fit with timing, but unfortunately it's not. Someone else would like to try?
It's a perspective, isn't it?
Perspective is not a principle, but I mean, it's the principle of the dynamics, but this is not the one that we're discussing. Would you like to try?
I guess.
Okay.
Was it slow in, slow out?
Okay, let's see.
Yes.
It's slowing and slow out. Can you maybe explain us why?
Because it's moving in different
Speeds? Yeah, like the speed of the element is clearly not the same in all of them. So in this animation, if you can see, there's this kind of like onion skin. It's called like this when you can see through. So that means that there's like this kind of trail of what it happened. So normally in animation, it is like this, the way that you will animate. So each frame will look like this, and with a slow in and slow out, you give this pacing, like in this direction. This is the way that you will distribute your animation. So yeah, congrats, thank you. Super. So we are back to the explanation stuff. I know, I'm sorry. We're gonna have a second activity, I know, I told you. So there's different types of animation. What I explained you and I told you before, we have the cell animation, we have motion graphics, we have stop motion, we have cutout animation, and we have 3D animation. So also we have rotoscope, but I'm not gonna explain this rotoscope because it's a little bit more tricky to explain. So I'm just gonna mention the other ones. So we could start with cell animation. This cell animation is a hand-drawn technique where each frame is drawn by hand. So it's the principle of the beginning when we have a piece of paper, which is called celluloid. The paper, so that's why it's called cell animation, because it's celluloid, the name of this paper. And basically all of these beautiful animations, well, this is a little bit tricky. Yeah, as you can see there we have a transparent celluloid paper where you draw over, and then you have a background where so you can change the movement of your character, but the background is the same. Or you could have a really long background, and then you just move it with the rolls, and then you just give like the sense of movement with the elements. So this is, let's say, like the second animation type that was released, because as I told you, the first one was like in these paintings on the caves, but this one was the animation that was making it grow this movement of animation. And it is represented to be really exhausting for developing something like this, because of course you have to paint frame by frame. And each animation is taking 24 frames for having 1 second. So of course it's really something that takes a long time to develop. For example, for the film that was made for Van Gogh, the one that it was made out of just paintings. So everyone had to paint a frame with oil. So it is a process that it's really exhausting, takes a lot of time, but in essence it's really beautiful to see, right? So let me see if I have a little bit longer. So there you have the Mickey Mouse, where it's more like this traditional stuff. This is more or less how it looks like, the drawings when they draw the Snow White. Let's go forward. So yeah, as I explained you, this is like the way that it was in the past. Still, it's possible to do it like this, but actually right now there's new ways to do this type of animation. For that, of course, you needed the celluloid. You need either like acrylics or you could draw it by paper with a pencil and so. And now it's also possible to use different sort of tools to do it digitally. So you can still do this same technique of painting frame by frame, but you can do it with different tools, like, for example, with Photoshop, you could do that. With Photoshop, you can set frame by frame a movement of an element that you do. So if you have some knowledge in Photoshop, you could do animations easily. Or there's another software that is professionally using cartoons that is called Toon Boom Harmony. This is a little bit more tricky to use, but it's also with the same principle of doing frame by frame. There's another one that is called TV Paint, which is also well known. For people that are more in the ground, that don't have much experience into animation, what I suggest is maybe to start with Procreate or Procreate Dreams. It's a new app that was released, I think, in November of last year. It's called Procreate Dreams, so you can work frame by frame, and you can create these stunning animations with a matter of seconds. So that is the only difference here. So you can have the digital side and you can have the traditional side, which is this way. What else? So we have this traditional films like the Snow White, Spirited Away, which is more like the anime kind of style, The Lion King, Akira, and yeah, those are like the films that are better known for using this tradition of this type of animation. Before going with the next one, does someone have a question or something? Yeah.
For example, if you have just one background, one picture background, can you give any ideas how to make an illusion that this background is hand by hand drawn frame by frame?
You mean like that the background is animated frame by frame? This is what you mean, or?
I mean that the background just stable picture.
Like statics, yes. Exactly, yes.
How to make the illusion that this background
it's moving.
To the back end?
So, for example, you mean that that let's say a character moves and that the background it moves? This is what you mean, or?
Here you see this water. It seems like
there's movement there in the water.
Small movements.
Yeah. For example, in the traditional animation, what you will do is that for each element you have a different layer. So you have a different paper layer, piece of paper. So you have the layer of the water, which is a static, like the whole mountains and the field, and that's it. And then in the front, then you will have the water that then you have to animate frame by frame to have this sense of movement. Or you can create a loop, what it is like a repeated animation that, let's say that you draw 3 to 5 frames that have like a sense of movement. It looks good. So it looks, because if it's something that is not really necessary to put attention in your eyes, and then you can kind of have a little bit of feeling of that the water is moving. This is one way that you could do, like to create like three frames of water movement, and then you just repeat them while, let's say that the dinosaur was walking and taking this. This is in the traditional way. In the digital side, you have to animate the water separately. So from the whole background, you have to animate the water separately to have the water moving or something like this. But it's with the same principle that you have to animate. If you want to have stuff moving in this technique, you have to draw it frame by frame. There's different techniques where many people draw in 12s, which is like skipping one frame, or to duplicate 2 frames. Let's say instead of 24 frames per second, they do 12 frames per second. And the animations look a little bit more like, I don't know, like when you have this strobe light that it looks your hand like this. This is kind of like the illusion that it looks when you animate in 12, or it's called in 2s, that it's 12 frames per second. That to make it a little bit lighter, this is also a way that you could do the water. I mean, if you don't want to have it like a highlight in the water, but then you can do it like this to animate the water in 12s, but your character in 24 frames. This is a possibility. I don't know if it's what you wanted to know about this question.
So you recommend 24 frames?
It's depending. It's just 12 it's convenient, and yeah, if you're starting, makes sense that you do animations in 12 frames per second, because of course it's faster to achieve something. But if you want to have realistic looking stuff, I mean, the idea here is that we want that the people that are looking your work is that they forget that it's an animation. That is the thing. So animation is that's why you're bringing stuff to life. So that's why we have a stone, and we want the stone to have life. And then later on it looks not that great, because then you have this cut feeling, and then the people can lose focus, right? So, yeah.
Maybe if you want to bring like a landscape to life, you can have either moving water or maybe moving plants, like leaves on a tree that are moving in the wind.
Yeah.
When we are talking about movement, understandable.
Yeah.
I mean that if you're watching the animation film, you see such kind of instability of stable parts, not
static. You mean
static parts, but they are not blinking, but a small noise. Like noise. When you paint frame by frame the same tree,
okay.
Without any movement.
It's called jitter. Yeah.
Such kind of.
So if you have a tree like this, but you want to have like the tree that kind of have like this kind of texture of moving, right?
Without any movement.
Yeah.
The illusion of paint.
Yeah. For that you need to paint it. You need to draw it. All these frames, yes.
I need to paint anyway.
And this effect, and this effect is called jitter, like this kind of jitter with J, jitter. Yeah. So that is what it's. I mean, that gives the illusion of when you watch, I don't know, like a tutorial on YouTube that is the most traditional ones of how to feed your dog. They have this typography that looks like it's moving like. I don't know, that it's wobbly or jittery. So that's the technique that they use. It's called jitter. Let's say that they have 3 frames and they repeat it certain, like for the whole time that you need to have this specific letter or tree or so on. So you just create a loop, exactly. Like in this case, the tree is kind of jittery. So that means that they redraw it. They redraw every time the tree, and that's why it looks jittery in this case.
Maybe now we can use artificial intelligence.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, that's another topic that is a bit big to discuss. So, if you're ready, we can go with the next one, or if you have any other question, we can discuss. Because this is actually the core of everything that we're gonna go through later. So, if this is clear, then I can go with the next ones. So. Cool. So the next one is stop motion. So basically this is a technique that manipulates objects to appear that it looks that they are alive. So I don't know, if we have that plant, we can make it alive by giving this effect of stop motion. I don't know if someone has tried already stop motion or knows how the technique works. I don't know. Would someone like to mention or explain? Any of you?
Move figure or something, just a little bit, and then make a photo, and then a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
You have some movement.
Exactly. So basically, you always, as a tool, you always might need to have a camera, and you have to have objects to animate. So as I always mention now, that the stone, you could have a flower, you could have a tree, you could, in stop motion, like with characters, you have the puppets in this case. So for that, you always need a camera and counting that you can have the frames that you're taking. So it's the same principle with the cell animation, that it's every frame you have to take it. So basically this is like the stop motion. So all of this, that you're watching now, it is made out of stop motion, It is also another technique that is epic time consuming. It is one of the most expensive ways to do animation as well. So that's why there's not many people doing this technique, because of course you can invest, I don't know, there's an animation that I just recently watched that was released last year. It took him 10 years to develop the film, which the film takes 40 minutes. And so it's called Mad God. It's a really gory animation film. It is made from this visual effects guy that works in Star Wars, the guy that built the spaceships and everything. This guy in the side job, he was building his film as well, and then it's called Mad Job, I think it is. I have it here, right? Yeah. So yeah, as I said, this is that technique where there's a few studios that have developed this technique because they have a good sponsor, of course. But basically, you could animate with clay, you could animate with plastic, you could animate even with your toys. If you have a Lego, you could animate stop motion kind of animation with your Legos if you want to. So basically, what it is, the technique, you have your camera, you have the Lego, and what you have to do is to take a picture of the first position. Then if you want the hand to be moving, then you have to move the hand and take the picture, and then so on. So every time that you move the hand, you take a picture of the movement. With this type of animation, of course, you don't have to just think about the hand. So it's the hand, but maybe the feet if you want the character to be running. So there's many things that you have to have in mind when you want to develop a stop motion animation. In this case, there's really many well-known films, like for example, The Nightmare Before Christmas. There's the Wallace and Gromit. This one that is really nice is Kubo. Fantastic Mr. Fox as well, or the recent or last, or also Coraline is really nice. Pinocchio from Guillermo del Toro, so it's a stop motion animation and is taking into another level. So yeah, this is basically what this technique is about. So to take elements and taking frame by frame, but in this case it's photo by photo, you give movement to the elements that you have. I mean, in this case, the old way to do visual effects to films was through making stop motion animation because there was not computer generated graphics. So that's the why let's say that they put this dinosaur, and if someone needed to walk in, they needed to film the person, and they needed to film like the character way in front to give this perspective of size. So the dinosaur was here, but the person was 1 kilometer distance. That you can see the dinosaur big, moving frame by frame, and then the other person was in the back. This is the old way. Now in the actual times, there's better ways to do it with a computer, but many people are into stop motion animation. As I say, the last film that was released from Pinocchio from Guillermo del Toro is this technique that they built, so photo by photo. But they mix stuff already like computer graphics, like if they want to have smoke, instead of animating the smoke, which of course many people do, like with cotton or other kind of elements, now they animate the smoke with digital elements. So either 3D smoke or they record smoke and then they put it in the animation. So like this, you can also mix different medias to develop your project. I love stop motion animation. If you want to do it as a hobby, I will highly encourage to do it because it's so much fun. But if you struggle, it's normal. And if you see that your project is not going right, it's normal. So it's really complicated to build a stop motion animation. And yeah, I don't know if someone wants to ask something or if you have any comments about this or experience about that. No? Okay, so we go to the next one. Well, I have to mention before, the tools that you normally use, as I mentioned, is the camera and elements, but also there's software that is called Dragon Frame. It's a software that it helps you to see the frame that you took before, and it shows it to you with less opacity so you can see through, and then you can have a reference of the movement so you can make it cleaner. And then you can just press next, which is photo, and then next photo, and so on. And then you can have a preview of the frames that you did before. So drag on frame is one tool that you can use. I have a tool that I like to use also in my phone. It's called stop motion. Basically like that. You just search stop motion, it's for free. Of course, there's a paid version with more blah, 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 but the basic version allows you to, with a tripod, because of course if the camera is moving, it's not gonna work. With a tripod with your phone, then you take frame by frame, and then it allows you to see the frame before. So when you make the movement of your elements, you can have a better, like a cleaner movement of what you're doing. Yeah.
I'm thinking about letting the background disappear. So, for example, when I have a hand in the background of my toy, and I'm filming, not like picture by picture, but I'm filming how the toy moves. Can I then erase the hand in the background and then the toy just moves?
What do you mean with hand?
My own hand. So I don't have to make this stop motion. I make an actual film.
Okay.
I erase my hand from the background.
Yeah, but I think that will not be stop motion. I mean, if you do it frame by frame, then stop motion, because that's the thing with stop motion. If you see it, I mean, it looks realistic. I mean, these latest ones are super highly, that you cannot even notice the jittery of the stop motion. But normally the stop motion animation has like this kind of texture and feeling that you can say, okay, it's a stop motion animation. If you want to do what you said, you basically just cover your arms or your hands in green paint, that you can apply this chroma that you can erase easily the background. So you just have your puppet moving, but then it's not going to look like stop motion. You could add filters later with post-production or visual effects that can more or less give you this illusion of stop motion. But normally, if you want to have like this style of looking, if you see, it's not perfect. I mean, if you see, it's not a real perfect movement. So this is why many people, it's more like to romanticize this kind of art, you know. Yeah, I don't know if someone else have tried stop motion, or if you have. Sonia?
Alondra and Alondra is my daughter, we did together for this school. Yes. And it was quite fun. So we worked with plastilin. And I cannot remember how many pictures we took. We did Blue. Blue is our dog. And she was following a squirrel. And she was trying to catch it. Yeah, it was very, very funny. At the end, she was just making poop.
Yeah, but it was a difficult process, right? To have something that...
Of course, because you needed to move every leg of
exactly.
the dog to make the movement.
And the thing is that they move, but then if later by accident you move something a little bit, then it's going to be wrong and you have to redo everything again.
Yes.
So that is the issue.
And you cannot miss a piece. For example, if I wanted to move Blue from here to here, it was not like she's just springing. You need to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Exactly. So that is the beauty of this.
It was really fun.
It is fun.
I can say just try it.
Yeah.
I've done it several times with children. There are some workshops at the Kino Museum.
Okay.
But I've done it on my own with Playmobil or some other toys.
Yeah.
Or also with persons.
Yeah, sure.
But you have to do a lot of photos, so it's not so easy.
No.
It's really for a very short
exactly.
time you need many photos.
Yeah, basically.
But it's fun.
The process of doing stop motion animation is really fun, but to have a really good looking result is exhausting, and you have to be really perfectionist, and you need a lot of eyes to tell you like, okay, no, careful, or when you move stuff, it is like really tricky to work with this. So the next topic that I would like to talk more or less goes with stop motion kind of technique. It's basically the same principle, but this is made out of like to cutting elements. Let's say if you have a magazine, then you make the lips, and then you cut the eyes, and then you can just have this effect of animation. So basically it's the same. If you see these animations, basically are pieces of cartoon of paper, and what they do is just they position, as you can see, all the pieces that needs to be moving, but they just do it frame by frame. It's photo, so let's say photo by photo, you create this effect. So yeah, it's an animated collage, but it's called cutout because of course you have to cut. Of course, in the older days, you had to cut everything. Either you print it or draw it or whatever, and then you later move it or create your puppets. There's one guy that also created his own puppets because, like, for example, this is one of the most famous cutout animations, The Adventures of Prince Ahmed. And what he did is that he built the puppets, but with, let's say, like with a little hole here, and then the hands can move like puppets basically, but in paper. And then he just was doing like this, like with the shadows. So that's the way that he did it. But he needed to take a photo of every frame that he was having for the animation. So this is the characteristics of the cutout animation. And I have to say, for example, if you see here, there's this picture. And what I've done, and I already collaborate with one of a Mexican artist here, it is that from your work, you could apply cutout animation. Because many of you here are either photographers or painters or entrepreneurs in the social media. So what you can do is to have your artwork, and you can give movement to your artwork in this case. So for example, here, if we have these hands, we could cut the hands and we can give them movement, and then it's already alive. So you could mix different medias. Let's say it could be only cut out, or you can mix VFX or digital stuff related, and then you bring alive your painting. So this is one way that you could do. So you can take in mind this. Nowadays, what they do is even they simulate this effect. In this case, it's South Park. In the beginning days, they built it with this effect of cutting the pieces of paper, but now they do it in 3D. So they simulate the cutout effect because they like the way that it looks, but it's super time consuming as well. So you need to have the puppets for developing everything, but it's super exhausting to do this. But now they do it in 3D because it looks nice for many people, or to give this style of retro.
In Torino, in like Italy, there's a really good film museum that also shows cutouts.
Okay, it's cutout animation, yeah.
Happen to be in Torino.
Interesting, yeah, that's super. Yeah, super. So, anyone another comment about cutout, or should we go with the next one? Okay, so let's go with 3D animation. So basically what 3D animation is to create an element in a three-dimensional space and bring it to life. All of this is created by computer, of course, and the advantages of having a 3D animation is that it allows you to create stuff that it's almost impossible to do, like humanly possible. Like if you need to have like flying from a cliff of a bird and something like that with a crazy angular camera, you can only do it with 3D animation. So this is the advantage of 3D animation, and as well many people like the realism that you can achieve with this technique. So as I said, the 3D animation, what it's bringing, or like the advantage is that you can have more depth. It allows you to have more sense of realism, which is for the viewers helping everyone to feel that it's not a fake, it's not an animation. So many people create like Pixar. Of course, it's clear that it's an animation, but many people, for them, it's easier to empathize with what they're looking at. So this is one of the advantages of doing 3D animation. In talking about history, the first animated long film was Toy Story. As you remember, the first Toy Story was looking super shitty. Before, they used to do the visual effects with 3D animation, that they can have this, I don't know, there was like this night that they wanted to have in 3D, so that's why they used to build stuff in 3D to give visual effects. So visual effects also can be considered animation in 3D. So like this with Tron, the first film, they did these visual effects, but actually it's animation in 3D. So for this, it's a little bit more tricky process. It is as same as long as with stop motion cutout, but sitting down in your computer all the time. I love it, but many people might not like it. So it's a matter of taste. The thing is about a 3D animation that I will explain in my next talk about 3D. It is that in general, for 3D animation, you have to model stuff. So you have to model or sculpt to have a better understanding these whole characters. In this case, as you can see, you have to sculpt all your characters, all your elements, and then later you have to rig it. Rigging is this process of giving bones to the sculptures that you already built. So yeah, this is funny. And then later on, when you have already the bones, it comes the animation. So it is, if I explain it to you in an easy way, is if we have a sculpture right now, like a traditional sculpture made out of clay, and then we put bones inside, and then we move the bones. That is the way that it's the 3D animation built. So in many cases, for example, this penguin, they sculpt the penguin first, and then later they put bones, fake bones, but then later they simulated the muscles of the penguin that they can have the feeling of a real penguin. So when it moves, it squishes the belly, or I don't know, this kind of things. It's to give more sense of realism, but then you have to simulate. Like if you have a lion, then you have to simulate the muscles of the lion in order to look realistic. Of course, the easy way is to create a cartoony thing. So for that, you just do it in a simple way. So don't go too far with a lion and things like this to not break your mind. So this is what 3D animation is. So the highlights are like Toy Story. We have Avatar, for example, from James Cameron. We have Shrek for many people that liked. Or, for example, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse as well, the last Spider-Man animations. In that case, that one is mixing many techniques, but mostly is done in 3D. Yeah, I don't know if someone has a question, then maybe we can...
With the 3D animation, you say you have to sculpt, and then put bones in, and then move that.
Exactly.
But when I was a kid, that's long ago, we had a very old computer, like in the days, like in the 90s, beginning of the 90s, we had a computer, and there was some program, I don't remember the name, and you had characters and you had backgrounds, and you could just choose and say, okay, let me have that background, and we put in those cartoon characters. And then, is there like pre-prepared characters in the 3D programs that you can then adjust to have your character? Yeah. Like
a library of assets. Yeah. Basically, there's free libraries. There's like CG Purse, or there's a lot of websites where you can get free assets. You can buy them as well. There's one library that is called Quixel, that is from Unreal Engine. They give a lot of assets for free. For example, in many of my animations, I've used some assets for the background, for example, to have many trees and things like this that will be super consuming. Exactly. Or for example, now there's this technique called photogrammetry that I could scan in 3D this flower. So with photos or with your phone that now has this LiDAR sensor in it, so you just place this element and you rotate it that you can scan it. So like this, you don't have to model the plant. So this is an easy way. I mean, this is like a shortcut that I'm telling you, but that's the process that you will do. Of course, when you already scan it, it will be generated in 3D, and later, if you want to have movement in this plant, then you have to add the bones that you can give movement to everything.
But there's libraries, and you can do scanning things from real life.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in the 3D talk, I will dive a bit more about that, but yes, you can even with your phone is possible. So you don't need to have highly expensive equipment to scan stuff. So yeah, that's possible to do. So here.
I have two questions. Are there also libraries for movement?
Yes, there's a library that is for free that is called Mixamo by Adobe, and there, for example, for that you need to have already your character. It's mostly for movement of characters, of humanoids in this case. So for that you need to have the character in T-pose. This is the normal position that you will have a character, so in this T-pose, and you already need to have it with or without bones. So digital bones in this case, what I explained you before. So for that, either you can download an asset of the humanoid, whatever you want, with or without bones. You put it in this platform, and then you select, because you need to select where your arms are, where are your legs, where is your head and everything. And then in this thing, you search for the library, and you say, like, I want my character to be jumping, for example. So there you find one, and then you just copy and paste it in the software for 3D, and then you already have one animation. There's another way, not a library, but there's equipment. At the moment, it's currently expensive. It's going towards being cheaper and accessible for everyone. It's like a suit that you put over your body and your hands and everything, and it detects your movement. So you can just record yourself and do it as well. It's something that it's in the growing process. At the moment, maybe in the talk that I give later, it will be a bit better. But with the AI, when you record yourself with your phone, you can even transfer it to a 3D already without the need of anything in your hands and so. So you just put your phone in front of you, you do the movement and whatever, and then you can just place it into a giant, for example, in a 3D space.
And with which program?
With which program? What, sorry?
So you put it where you, I don't remember.
So for example, there's different 3D softwares to build 3D. There's one that is becoming really famous that is called Blender. This one is for free. So this is a really growing community of 3D animation, of 3D stuff production. So Blender is one of the most famous right now for free. There's Cinema 4D, which is the one that I use. There's Maya as well, that is called from Autodesk. There's 3D, how's it called? 3D, I have it here. No. 3D Max, exactly. 3D Max. Also, there's another software for building 3D. And there's a lot of 3D softwares, but the ones that I mentioned are the main ones. But if you're a beginner and are running a low budget, run with Blender. It's the free version. There's thousands of tutorials, courses online. If you ask me later, I can share with you some titles that I can suggest you to. The traditional, there's a tutorial about how to create a donut. It's really complicated, but it's really fun to create in 3D.
And probably you could say a few words about the requirements of equipment, because not every laptop is able to do it.
Yeah, for that, I mean, 3D animation, you could do 3D animation in almost new computers from the last, let's say, 5 years. But not render it. That's another process. The render process is another thing. That means that you have your animation of your character, and then you want to have the video from it. So you need to export that as a video file. And for that, it's exporting frame by frame, but with lights and a lot of textures on your character and this kind of things. That for that, then you need a really powerful computer. I mean, it's hard to say the minimum requirements, but in the more detailed talk that I will give about animation, I will give more a sense about that. There's possibility as well, if you have the budget, it's not too expensive but not too cheap, you could send your animation to a render farm, which means it's a company or even a website where you rent a computer that has these possibilities, or like a really strong computer, and then you can render it in that computer. You just upload your file, and then you get the render from them. So that's the other possibility when you don't have a proper computer. it's not too expensive. Sometimes you can either rent it for days or for minutes, or depends also which software that you use. So because they need to use the licenses for everything that you use, because there's software for rendering as well. So it's diving into a little bit bigger ocean, the 3D animation. Yeah. You had another question, or it's already answered?
Where you mentioned scanning, can you also scan people? And then you have a 3D version of people?
Yes. Yeah. I did it already. It's really fun. I mean, I don't have it with me, but it's really fun. It looks more like these kind of avatars, like Sims. So it is kind of fun to do it like this.
And will you show it to us how to do it?
I could show it in the talk about 3D animation. Yeah, I could do that. We can do an experiment of having a previous. Because the cool thing is that, for example, if you're a sculptor or you like handwork, then you could create your sculpture in real life with clay, whatever, and then you can scan it in 3D and then transfer it, and then you can put it in you can make crazy animations with it. So it's a matter of creativity of yours, because then you will start to mix media. So this is one possibility that you can do with 3D as well. I don't know if someone else has a question or comment about 3D. All good? Okay, we'll go to the next one. So we'll go to the motion graphics, which basically is to give movement to the graphic designers. The graphic designers don't give movement to stuff, and the people that does motion graphics move the stuff that a graphic designer built. Normally this is talking about digital stuff, but also could be applying motion graphics applies all the techniques from all of the other stuff that I talked before. So you can talk about 3D animation, you can talk about cutout animation, you can talk stop motion and things like that. So this is more like a general thing. It's not the thing, but it's one general thing. It's mostly used for advertisement or commercial work. This is more like the motion graphics thing that is being used. For example, everything, if you can see here, it's computer generated. So there's a mixture of 3D, there's a mixture of hand, like frame by frame, but everything is done with a computer. So of course you can take a picture, but then you digitalize it. So everything is done, the motion graphics process, it goes to the digitalization of your process. And for example, here you can see animation in 3D, which is basically, you can say like, yes, it's 3D animation, but then the application goes more towards commercial work or to present a product or stuff like this. So motion graphic goes more oriented into commercial side, not much artistic. Yes, there's artistic things like this, but it's more oriented into commercial work. So the tools that are used for making motion graphics are After Effects, which is the main one and is the one that I've used the most. You could do as well motion graphics with Unity, Unreal Engine. You can do as well with Photoshop. You could do as well with Procreate Dreams as well. For example, this new app called Procreate Dreams in the iPad. It's only in the iPad, unfortunately, but it's optimized for the iPad. What it does is that, for example, with cutout animation kind of things, it is motion graphics, but it's cutout technique. So you take a photo, you cut the leg of the character, and then in Procreate Dreams, you don't need to animate it. So for example, I have the leg here, and then the anchor point or like the position where the leg is going to move, let's say is in my hip. So in the software, you put it that there's the hip, and you just take the feet with your finger literally, and then you move it like this, you do it like that, and then it's already recorded the movement. So you don't need to do it frame by frame. So everything is already in the software, so you don't need to be an expert, so you only like position it like if maybe faster, slower, and that is the advantage of these digital tools, that you can just... It's the same in After Effects, but in After Effects it is not as basic friendly in a way. So After Effects is more tricky. You could also do it, of course, with more details and with better tools, but with Procreate Dreams, if you want to do something fast, that's what I say, like to just move the head like this, or if you have a cactus that you want to move side to side, you just put like a pin in the head of the cactus, and then you just move it like this, or with your finger just do it like this, that's it, your animation is done. So that is the concept of motion graphics as well. So you have elements that you build in real world or in digital as well, like in Illustrator or Photoshop, and then you put it into Procreate Dreams, and then you animate it fast. So, and the price of this software is 20 euros. So it's beginner friendly as well. Yes?
What would you say is the most basic application for doing cutouts?
For doing cutout, do you mean like as software or like tools to do that? It just basically you could edit it with your phone if you want to as well, like with the. For example, the one that I mentioned, the stop motion, you could do, because basically cutout is the same principle as stop motion. So you just need a tripod, your phone, or iPad as well. I have it in the iPad as well, so you can just have the app for free, and you just have the cutout. You can just take your magazine or your newspaper and create cutout animation. So
you have to scan how you say?
For what? For
this stop motion application.
For the stop motion application, you just download it, and then it's already showing you
all the photos, and then it made by itself.
It makes by itself the video. So, for example, you take the photos, as I explained you before, frame by frame. You make the movement with your photos or with persons, as you said as well, that you can do this effect of stop motion with persons, but it's really exhausting. But this is the way. So you take the pictures of all the frames, and then later you export it as a video file.
How is called the app?
Stop motion.
Stop motion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's a pro version that costs 20 euros as well. It has a little bit more tools like for color correction, to make it look a little bit better, to have chroma key, which is to remove, I don't know if you have seen in the TV studios where they have a green background, or like these people that tell the weather, that they have like, oh yeah, da 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 da. It's like the way that I'm here, but they have a green screen, but they replace in a computer the content that is there. So in this app, when you pay the 20 euros, you could also remove the background for like what Katerina said. So you have the puppet like this, you move the puppet, you move it with your hands, but your hands needs to be like green, that the software can erase the background, and then you can only see the puppet moving.
Which was that?
That tool is called stop motion. Just stop motion. If you look for it in the app store, this is the way that you can find it. So I don't know if someone else has a comment or so. No? Okay. So what if we stretch a little bit? Let's come to the last activity, and I present you Bob the Slime. This is Bob the Slime, and for that I might need the help from Sonia. So in the course of the day, we learn different principles. So let's apply it. Why not? Sonia, ¿puedes poner luz?
¿Toda la luz?
Mm-hmm. Cool. So everyone has its own piece of paper, yeah? Good. So basically the idea, can I have one? Is it one left or? Just to explain. So.
Braucht jemand noch eins?
So what are we going to do now is, here we have our page, and in the first frame we're going to experiment, or for each one we are going to experiment with all of these techniques, right? So I'm going to show you the example, and you're going to try it to have your first animation. It's only 6 frames, which is not going to make it really exhausting, so you could give it a try. And with one of you, we can just make an example to do it with this app of stop motion and to show you how your animation looks at the end. So if you want to try, we're going to start with the squash and stretch, of course. So if you can see, you don't need to copy it. What we need is just to give animation and give movement to Bob the slime, the character that we have before. So your task now would be to give movement to Bob the slime with the techniques that we know now. So as an example, here we have the first frame. So we draw this sphere here. So for the next one, we have a little bit more stretchy. So we draw it like this, like a little bit more ovally drawing. So I can assume that everyone knows how to draw a circle. Otherwise, I can help you. Could be a circle or however you want to make the character of the slime, but otherwise I could help with no problem. And so on. So the next frame would be the sphere. And the thing here is that you don't need to draw the way back, because the thing is that you can loop or you can play it in reverse as well. So you don't need to redraw every single frame. So here is one frame, two, so till 6 frames, and then you can play it back, and then you have already your looping animation of a ball going back and forth. So if so...
But this is 7.
Sorry?
This is 7.
These are 7 frames, but you can do it with 6. So with no problem. Just give it a try. Doesn't matter if it looks bad. It's not a contest or something like this. So... So I'm just going to give you a few minutes. If someone needs some help, let me know. Lovely.
Ich glaube, ein kleines Psychologie im Kindergarten.
Alex?
Aber wirst du mit Videos? Zeig mir.
Draw now only squash and stretch, or
Only squash and stretch now. Or, I mean, you can go with the next ones if you're feeling adventurous, but let's begin with this one only.
Alex, did you try the sketcher?
Yeah, but
But this is not good.
yeah, stop motion.
Stop motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I have tried that one with a small dog, and it was quite funny because the bones, they were moving as they wanted.
Ah, yeah.
It was not possible to make a real move.
Yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah, and I was like,
Where's your sheet? If you're anyone to me, you know.
There's one here.
Here, I just like.
There's one for you. If you're feeling adventurous. I don't know if someone is done and would like to show it, and maybe we can do a test.
Just one.
The squash and stretch, yeah. Would you like to do the test with the app to see how it looks? So? I'm just going to make a test and then I will explain you how to do this.
Perfect. Everything.
Okay. So if everyone is done. So let's give it a try. I mean, I will just show you the example when we're done. Oops. Maybe let's go forward. I will make the test later. I did the test, I will just work on it and I will show you too. So the next one, let's try it with anticipation. Here it's a little bit tricky because now it doesn't show It's not running. Yeah. No, this is the other one. Okay, let's try anticipation, but I don't know why the video is not working. Let me. Yeah, because it's going backwards and then it goes to the end. You are applying actually two techniques, which is the squash and stretch and anticipation as well, because then you're squishing it here. Yeah, good.
And I mean, it's cool because you just choose
It's artwork.
Yeah.
You can also change the 5 per second or
Puede ser así, ¿no? Que se está moviendo el corazoncito y está ¡pum! ¿En anticipation o no? Pasa algo, ¿no?
Tendría que ir. Estaba más grande. Tendría que ir, o sea, si explota, tendría que ir de a pequeño y explota.
Ok, bueno, es que según yo lo hice pequeño y estaba como creciendo más y estaba...
Pero tendría que empezar en grande y luego en pequeño y luego en grande otra vez.
¿Cómo? Empezar, tendría que ser
más grande.
por ejemplo.
Y luego más pequeño, porque se supone que lo que hace el corazón es como
si estuviera
y luego, o sea que tienes que es como...
Entonces este tendría que ser más pequeñito, como para que...
Y luego lo va subiendo.
Ok. Luego un poquito más grande.
Porque es básicamente la inversión del movimiento en general. Si va de izquierda a derecha, entonces va derecha y luego izquierda. Y aquí en este caso esa escala es grande y luego pequeña. Sí. Ajá.
Este más grande.
Sí.
Y ya ya más grandote.
Sí.
Y ya reventó.
Exacto. How's everyone doing? Good? Can I see? Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, because it's going backwards. And then...
The object is like when it starts moving, it is moving a bit backwards before it starts.
That is the idea, because basically you have to... Yeah, exactly. You have to show the starting position and then you go backwards and then, yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like taking speed.
Yeah. I mean, this is in the case because what Sonia did is to represent it, but in the scale, for example, anticipation in scale. So it's more like small and big again to have an anticipation. As well, exactly, and then it grows again.
Großes Herz, dann wird der kleine.
How's it going in there? Yeah, it's perfect. No, it's perfect. I actually did a test, but because I don't have a tripod, we cannot see it that well. I mean, I just did it really quick. And the idea is that you can take a picture. I mean, if you want to try it at home, you can take a picture. And with the onion skin, what I explained you earlier, it is that you have to, if you can see there, you see the frame with really low opacity. So the thing is that you have to take a picture of all of your frames and then put them on each frame at a time. And then like this way you can create the animation. Like in this case, yours is opening the mouth and then maybe closing it a little bit and then so on.
Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah, and it's with your phone where you can just do it, but with more statics, because now I'm a little bit shaky. With a tripod, it's
I'm shaking as well.
yeah, it's tricky. So.
Match the idea.
Yeah, but for example, here will be the first one. This won't be the next one, because first you show the first position and then you do like this. Exactly, but this is right. You just have to swipe. Exactly.
Ich schicke dir das weiter mit der Zunge zwischen dir.
¿Qué tal? ¿Ya quedó ese?
Una salchicha. Salchicha vengadora.
Sí, sí. Are you done already with yours? Can I have a look? A ver. Okay, so this question stretch is good. Anticipation. Yeah, because it's... No, I think it's wrong. It's the other way around. Yeah, exactly. So it needs to be... Yeah, swap. But it's exactly. It's right. Yeah, it's right. The part 2 of animation is next week, yes.
Put it in my calendar.
Yeah. Yeah.
I try to speed up my calendar. It's a bit like the squash.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, but it's right. So if you're feeling motivated to do a last one, we can do it. Otherwise, we can leave it here. The follow through and overlapping.
What was that?
It is like the one that was having like this physics feeling. Like if you notice.
Slow and then no.
No, in this case, for example, it's not stopping like chuck chuck. So it's more like going and it has this physics feeling. Like when you are in the bus, then you have this effect. So when it stops, then it has a little bit more, like exactly like a bounce thing. So you can do it with a sphere. So it's like this, and then you have this effect.
It's like the anticipation also on the other side.
Exactly, but in the other side, yes. Yeah, in a way. So, lo que hiciste acá.
Fue el anterior, sí.
Este que es un cheto que va y viene. Como los chetos del anuncio que van y vienen. O los Doritos. Que van y vienen, ¿no? Entonces voy a quitar un Dorito.
Sí. ¿Y el anticipation? Creo que no la...
Es como... Tienes un martillo, ¿no? El martillo pega así, pero lo haces así como... O sea, le das como una...
Como...
Porque aquí empieza dándole. Este es el follow through.
Ok.
También estás aplicando también aquí. Pero el anticipation es... El movimiento tiene que ser anticipar lo que vas a hacer.
Claro.
Oye, pero el Dorito cuando regresa tiene que regresar viendo para el otro lado. ¿O puede regresar con el mismo?
Es que el Dorito puede estar viendo hacia el frente.
Exactamente, por eso mi Dorito está viendo hacia allá. Entonces cuando llega aquí y hace el, ¿cómo se llama? El overlapping, ¿tiene que voltearse o puede ir al mismo lado?
No, puede ir en el mismo, pero tiene que pasarse. Míratelo.
Y luego así.
Exactamente, pero si lo ponemos en una línea de tiempo así, digamos que tu triángulo empieza aquí, se va así, pero digamos este es el límite, ¿no?
Sí.
Este es tu penúltimo cuadro, pero tú haces un último para simular que como que tiene un frenado y ya después se regresa y vuelve a hacer el recorrido. No lo tienes que hacer en el regreso, nada más con la ida.
Con la ida.
Pero es como tienes el límite, pero le haces un adicional.
Voy a ver si tengo el video de la Blue para que vean qué chistoso está.
Sí. So you have a question or?
I just forgot what was the follow-through.
So follow through is like this sense of like the physics applied. So for example, we have point A and B. The ball will be from here to here. But instead of finishing your animation here, you do one more frame where the ball is here because it's more like this. So this is my stop, but this is the other physics feeling, and then you go back. So that is the thing. So it gives and the overlapping is the other way around as well. I mean, in this case, we can only do the follow through. Yeah, because it's going like this, and then it kind of bounces back. Exactly. Yeah, this is right. I mean, you're doing the follow through, but in rotation, not in position. But it's right what you did. So it's not. I mean, this technique is not only applied in position; also could be in scale and could be in rotation. Is it clear? Yeah. Can I have a look? Ja. Thanks. Yeah, I will go. The thing is that here you're doing anticipation.
Yes.
But the thing is that with this one, as I mentioned before, let's say, I will explain to you. So you have the ball in point A, point B, but the ball is doing like this physics feeling. So if you ball will finish here, but then it will have this feeling, then you have to add exactly. So this will be here, and here this will be. You have to move it into this one. You change it here because it's the bounce that it's doing. So it's the follow through.
Yeah, so like this is the stop, this is the bounce back, and then it really stops in the end.
So you do it a little bit more in forward. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, if you start it like that way, then it's okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like it's going like this. Ooh.
So then it works like this because then this is the final position. Yeah.
So this is stopping, and this is the.
Because you're doing anticipation here, for example.
Yes.
So you do here, and then you do anticipation. Then it goes a little bit more, goes front, and then it already goes the follow through, and then it already. Then it's right.
It's right.
Yeah, you're doing two principles in one. In this one.
But the follow through would only with this.
Exactly.
Without this.
Exactly, without this. But this is already okay.
It starts like this,
Without anticipation.
then it does this, then continues, and then does the same, and then the same position as the beginning.
Without anticipation. Otherwise, I have two in one.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Which is fine.
Yeah, but it helps understand.
That means that you are more advanced. Yeah, yeah.
No. I was just wrong.
No, in a good way. Yeah, good.
I tried to figure out what
Yeah.
it means, so I write without anticipation.
Perfect.
Also, I found that here I did 2 frames in one, but that's not right for the app.
No, no. You have to draw one by one. Exactly, exactly, yes.
That's why I always write down my mistakes, not to make them.
Yeah. That's a good tip. Good.
You know,
Good move.
what my mistake was.
Yeah, that's a good move. So I think let's continue to. So let's go towards the end. So I would just like to give you some recommendations or suggestions. So basically about what we discussed today, there's the principles of the animation, and it is what you already practiced today. Really great done. So in this book, if you want to come in and have a look, you can just check, and everything it's explained here with details. So these are the books that I might suggest. If you want to have a picture of it, you can just take it and then choose later do a research. Otherwise, you can write me a message and I can let you know about them. And this basically is the Bible of animation, which is, I explained it there. This is in every animator's drawer, because you use it basically every day. It's something that you don't remember. So for example, if you need to know how to make like a walking animation, it's explained frame by frame how to have like a cycle of someone is angry, and then it shows you how everyone is running angry. So you can have a look and then maybe you can pass it through. So every drawing is like a frame that you will have to do in your animation, or not necessarily in this cell animation. This is more like the principles or cell animation, but this is applied for everything that I explained afterwards.
Actually, I wanted to ask how they were working with this movie, which was framed Roger Rabbit, which was mixed the realistic stage with the animation.
That is
in the 90s, no?
In the 90s, yes.
Cell animation.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, no, actually, this book is written by the what's it called, animator of Roger Rabbit. So he wrote this book. So he's really well known. I mean, this Roger Rabbit film is really well known because it's really good looking, and it's really complicated to achieve something like this by the time. Now it's more easy to build something like that, but basically what you have to do, what they did, and he explains a little bit there in that book, it is that they shot the film first, and then they draw over the film, for the cell. They already had the background, but when the actors needed to interact with the character that doesn't exist, they had to as if I'm talking with a character, and later in the animation process, I draw the character there with this cell animation.
Sorry. You can do the same with pictures. If you, for example, if you want to have a sequence of you dancing, you take pictures of yourself with different positions. Them and draw it by hand on the picture, and then you have different frames with different drawings and movements, and then you make a video, and then you have the...
Yeah, I mean, you have to mix a lot of media to achieve something, but as far as you understand the basics of how your animation works, then you can paint over your photo and then later take a picture and then make it cut out, or that's mixed media that you have to do, but basically it's animation what you're doing. Yeah.
At the program you can put a movie, short sentence inside. The problem is, can you put another layer and draw on the another layer? You have to, do you know that?
Ideally, it will depend on what you're building. Normally you work, so for example, if you are going to build a character, let's say the example of Roger Rabbit, I don't know if everyone is aware of how it is. So it's real people film but with a character that is not real. So like this, a drawing. So basically what they do is first they have the film, and then later they draw everything. And for that, the character needs to be in different in one layer.
The problem is I put a little sequence in Procreate, and I have to draw directly on the movie. And it's not do you know that?
Yeah, no, it's in another layer. And Procreate Dreams is like this.
Dreams.
Yeah, in Dreams. It's easier, exactly.
This is not good.
In Procreate, it is for making just one element. So when you want to do an animation in Procreate, just do it in Procreate, and then in Procreate you can drag it and drop it into Dreams. Okay. That's also one way.
So it's Procreate.
Procreate, like create. Yeah, exactly. Procreate Dreams.
I'm very interested in Dreams.
It is more like, because the thing is that, for example, in Procreate Dreams you can have the film or your whatever you shot with your phone, and then later, let's say that I'm doing it like this, but I want to make the principle of staging of my hand. So what I can do in Dreams, with my video, I can make animation of sparks or something in my hand extra, and then I can do it in Dreams in another layer.
Okay, because that's my problem. The problem was if it's in the same layer.
No, you have to work like in this kind of same principle, layers, that you can have control of everything. If you need to correct something, then you correct only one layer, and it's easier than to correct everything.
It's hard, it's enough work.
And sometimes you even have layers per action, depends. So sometimes you can have one layer per finger. If it's like a close-up of your hand, then you have one layer per finger, or the arm is in one layer. Then
does it work in Dreams? In Dreams you can put...
You can have unlimited amount of layers.
And you can, the new layer, you need it at this frame. Just put it there and that's it?
Yeah, you can just... No, you can just move it like this. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really easy. So, and in Dreams you can work, as I said, you can work frame by frame, and you can work with just moving it with your finger, or there's different ways that you can. I mean, this is specifically in cell type of animation. This is a tool that I would suggest.
I think something similar, but this was strange. I cannot remember how it's called, this technique. In that time I used the first digital photo camera, and I used this effect which is making a lot of photos. It's called in Spanish ráfaga effect, because you can make the movement and the photograph is catching every movement.
Yeah.
Example, I make like this. Yeah. Tick, 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 tick.
Yeah, a sequence. Yeah.
A sequence. Yeah, and I printed and I
you draw over the print.
Over there, and it was a kind of nice experiment.
Yeah.
But it was in black and white, but I can't remember because there is a name for that.
There's a what?
There is also a name for that kind of animation.
I mean, I haven't, because I've done that before, but I don't know how, if in the industry they call it in a specific name. I'm not 100%. Actually, I would consider it. It's called a rotoscopy. Rotoscopy, yeah, it's rotoscope. It is the one that I didn't talk today because it's more tricky, because it's mixed media. I will talk about that in the next one, the rotoscope, but because it's like a mix of many. In the moment I just present you the generals, and then later you mix many of them. But this is the rotoscoping, so yeah.
I'm thinking about filming and probably take some frames out, and then you have the same effect. Is it true?
How? Like you make a film?
And then you take some frames out, and then you have this jumping effect.
It does look, I mean, instead of taking it out, it's getting more technical, but if you go to After Effects as a software, they have an effect that is called posterized time. So your video that it's 24 frames, you can make it 12, and it gives you this effect. I mean, it's more like a visual effect, because it's more time consuming if you remove frame by frame. I mean, this is more like to think in the digital way. There's better ways to do it. Yeah, If you do everything, if you do something frame by frame, do it for love. Don't do it for efficiency, honestly. Yeah, do it because it's fun, but don't do it. It's not gonna be never efficient. Yeah, or because you are requested to do it this way. Yeah.
Which program would you say we can use if we want to animate one part, for example, of this work?
So there's two possibilities. There's the professional and then medium professional. So for example, if we have that one, we could take a picture of it and we can, for example, we could use Procreate that I'm mentioning now. That it's cheap, 20 euros, you pay in your iPad and that's it. Then in Procreate, you cut, let's say, if you want to move the hand that it takes it like this, and then it maybe reveals a funny eyes or whatever. So what you could do is you take a picture with your iPad or with your phone, you upload it to the program, you cut the hand like this, and then later you just have the hand like in the transparent background, and you just move the hand. And then in Procreate Dreams, you either animate the hand with your finger, like, or if you want to do it more traditional, frame by frame, like this and back, and that's the way that you could do it.
Digital cutout.
It's like a digital cutout, but it's the same principle of cutout. So you have already something built, but then you give life to it.
So Procreate is for you.
Procreate and Procreate Dreams. So there are different, but you could also do it with Procreate Dreams.
It's Procreate.
It's just there's two. Procreate is mostly for drawing and illustration. You could also do animations, but I would suggest only to do animations in Procreate of just one element, because it's super complicated that you do a whole scene in Procreate because you don't have the layers possibility.
But for example, I have an invitation for an exhibition, yeah, and I want to do it with a little bit funnier, or I don't know. For example, I want him or her.
No, this one.
Okay, not this one. Let's say this one, yeah. I want her to take this off, yes, to show her other eyes, but in an easy way. I don't want something very special, yeah.
For this,
just to make it like, oh, what's happening?
For example, if you want to bring the phone inside, the only issue here, if to do that, you need to have the other side of the face. You need to duplicate it or exactly. You have to mirror the face that you can have at the face, and then you always think in layers.
But which program would you say we can use?
You could.
As I say, for example, this is the invitation.
Yeah.
I write here something. I want her just to make like this. Yeah.
You could do it with either Procreate Dreams or with After Effects. After Effects will give you a professional looking result. Procreate Dreams, for that what you're asking, will give you a quick result, but looking like fast.
Premiere or...
But for newbies, you know?
Yeah, Procreate Dreams.
Procreate Dreams for newbies, not for...
Yeah, with Procreate Dreams will look...
Just for somebody who wants to do something.
Yeah,
because we don't have the knowledge you have.
No, Procreate Dreams will be the easiest.
I think After Effects is a bit...
As I tell you, it's more wiser to spend less time in something.
Procreate Dreams.
Yeah.
Okay. And this one costs 20
euros.
Okay, for 1 year.
Forever. No. I'm not sponsoring, but I don't have a sponsor, but yeah, it's cool. It's cool. You had a question? No? Okay.
I had a lot of questions. Can I show you something? I think that's it.
Procreate Dreams.
Now it starts.
Okay, this is made out with AI. AI, yes, exactly. So this is another topic.
Okay.
So you just put the video in this AI platform, and then you decide where you want to go with this, or you just say like go random, and then just go with the movement. But it's generated by AI. Yeah, exactly. It's more like another topic. It's animation, but it's difficult. Yeah.
So the similar, all these In Vienna, all these exhibitions of what was it? Frida Kahlo.
Yeah, it's
multimedia.
Yeah.
Made like that?
No. This is made with, for example, the Frida Kahlo. It's with cut out, like what I explained now. So
They make different
exactly, yeah. That is the trick. The trick is to make layers everything.
Yeah.
So you can just make movement on everything.
Yeah.
So if you want to blink an eye, then you cut the eye, and then you make one layer of the eye, and then you animate only the eye, and then it looks like it's blinking already.
Okay.
So that is the trick, the way that I will do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like these Van Gogh experiences,
Yes,
or yeah. So all of them are done like this. Klimt as well. So this is the way. So you take a picture, high resolution picture of your work, and then you separate it in the layers that you want to have movement. So for example, in that case, just the hand, you cut it, and then you need to regenerate what is in the background, because then it's gonna be white. You have to regenerate what is in the background, and then you just move the hand, and then it looks already realistic. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. You're so welcome. So if you don't have any questions or so, any other comment or so?
If you don't have any question, we have coffee, we have water, we have wine. We like to have ours.
So I want to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Ich habe gerade erzählt auf Spanisch. Ich habe eine Einladung gemacht vor einem Jahr